And you talked about this a little bit earlier when you're referencing Jesus and he was praying the prayer in the garden, let this cup pass from me. And you use
Yep.
that story to highlight um, the this sort of what would seem to be an outrageous statement that we need to thank God for every unanswered prayer. Why is it that we need to thank God for every unanswered prayer?
You know, I will say this: um, God is so much more wiser than we are,
Hmm.
and I think that we would answer our prayers the very same way that God answers our prayers if we were privy to all the knowledge that God has about our past, present, and future.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's almost like, your parents have gone through this journey way before you came along, on average 20, 25 years before you came along. So they have some sort of experience in life. And when you're a kid, especially when you're a teenager, you want to do things your own way, and you think, oh no, they don't know what they're talking about. And I'm going to do this, and this is what I like, and this is my life, and I'm going to go in this direction. And it's not until you get to be like my age that you look back and go, oh Lord, you know what? They were right. They were right about that. Like, I
Hmm.
really, really messed up. Like, I look back now and I go, man, if I would have just listened to my dad here, there, there, like, I would be a multimillionaire right now, or I would be in a whole different, setting right now, because my dad told me so many things that I didn't listen to because I was lazy, because I felt like I wouldn't enjoy it, because I kept thinking, no, he's not the king of my life. Like, this is my life. And now looking back, I go, goodness, where would I be if only I had listened to my father or my mother here, there, here.
Hmm.
Um, so, in like manner, I feel like so many times we complain about unanswered prayers. Why didn't I get this? Why didn't I? And it's like, look at Jesus. That's the greatest unanswered prayer of all. When he says, let this cup pass from me, thank God he didn't answer that prayer. Because
Hmm.
had he answered that prayer, none of us would be saved right now, you
Hmm.
know? And so it's like you better thank God for every person that God said no to in your life. Thank God for every circumstance God said no to in your life, because you just don't have the kind of knowledge and foreknowledge that God has about your future and about his glory and about his plans. We don't have that kind of capacity. And I think in the sermon, if I remember, I used the example of Job and how he went before the Lord. And I think that the Lord uh, said something like, brace yourself like a
Hmm.
man, or something to that effect.
Hmm.
He said, after he heard all of Joel's complaints, he said, brace yourself like a man. Like, I will question you and
Mm.
you shall answer me. And
Right.
then that's when he goes into the, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation, and where were you, all the where were you questions.
Mm.
um, Basically what he was saying is, Job, you just don't have this kind of knowledge. You just don't have this kind of knowledge. So why,
Mm.
why you're I think the term is, that Job used, you are obscuring my plans with words without knowledge. That's what he
Right.
said.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
he was saying, you're obscuring my plan or wisdom. I forget how he worded it, with words without knowledge. So basically, you're speaking what you don't know. You don't
Mm.
know. There's so much more. There's so many nuances to this world that you just don't get. So um, that's why it's important that we don't complain, and that we have an attitude that, especially when our prayers are unanswered, that we have an attitude that says, not my will, but thine be done. Not
Mm.
my will, but thine be done.
In the book of Job, in chapter 38, this is what the Lord said. This is what God answered to Job. He said, "Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge?" Every time you complain, you are obscuring God's plans with words without knowledge. In other words, you are talking what you don't know. You are in way over your head. Some of us are complaining about unanswered prayers in your life, unanswered petitions. I'm going to tell you right now, you ought to bless God for every unanswered prayer in your life.
Yeah, I heard a preacher recently reference. It was, I think, in reference to that story in Job, where he was talking about how like God has existed from the beginning, and when we come to Him with an attitude of complaint, I've been around 33 years on this earth, and I'm trying to tell the God that has created all things, has existed in all time and space, knows every cultural context, has intimate knowledge of of everything. I'm trying to tell him how to do his job, and
That's pretty powerful, bro. The thought of that is pretty powerful.
well, just
The
think about
thought
it
of that
like
is powerful.
think about like whenever you travel, if you go somewhere you haven't been before, and you interact with a culture that you haven't been involved in before, and how much that opens up your understanding to those type of people, or that
Right.
part of the world. And we have such a limited understanding and such a limited knowledge just with cultural context, let alone, all knowledge and understanding, and he knows all, and yet we're still trying to
Yeah.
question him.
Absolutely. I think that the equivalent of that would be like me jumping in a pilot's cabin or whatever, and saying, "Hey, I think you should hit that button. Like
Yeah.
I don't like the way you move this lever. It's that button. It looks nicer." And
Yeah.
he's got years upon years of experience and education and science behind it. And you and me, who's never flown a plane in my life, who doesn't understand the last thing of what it means to fly, I'm going
Yeah.
to tell him exactly how he, and that doesn't even do justice
Mm,
to how much more infinitely wise God is over us.
mm.
And so, to me, it's, why do we complain about things we don't understand?